400 years ago, humanity was at the peak of its power, but all of that changed because a demon named Schneider decided to invade the world. A long battle against humans ended in his defeat. However, due to his immense power and legendary defense, he was able to use a spell that brings him back to life every time he dies. 15 years ago, he gathered 4 of the strongest leaders, Nai, Cole, Jara, and Abigail. And with them, he established the Dark Army to take over the world. The war lasted for 4 years, but he lost again. However, a human sorcerer named Gio knew of Schneider's power and that he would return to life again. So he sealed his soul inside a small child and decided to raise the child under his care, to teach him ethics and ensure he doesn't become evil, and thus seal his immense power. He raised the child and named him Lucien. Inside him were 2 personalities, a human and kind personality, and the personality of the world's most powerful evil sorcerer. 11 years after Schneider's death, the Dark Army captures the kingdom of metallic Akane. This was the army that managed to regroup after Schneider's death. An army composed of all forms of monsters and humans couldn't stop them. The commander of the assault force was Zeus, a powerful sorcerer and legendary master of lightning magic. Inside the palace, soldiers were protecting Princess Sheila. Even if the city falls, we must protect the princess. Lucien was in the palace, crying and afraid of the army destroying the city. Yuko tried to calm him down, saying, "Don't be afraid, I will protect you." Yuko is the daughter of Priest Gio, the priest who sealed Schneider's power inside Lucien's body. Suddenly, they heard the door shaking. All the soldiers stood in front of it to reinforce it. They told the princess, "You must escape as quickly as possible. We won't be able to protect you in the palace for long." Suddenly, the door exploded and hundreds of monsters entered. Zeus told them, "I've come to take the princess," and he attacked everyone present. Yuko told the princess, "Get behind me. I have a way to protect you." She remembered what her father told her, that there is a powerful spell planted in Lucien's body, a spell that seals in legendary power, but it is forbidden to use it except in the utmost necessity. To release the power, one must say the incantation and seal it with a kiss from a virgin. That's why he refused to let his daughter marry all this time, so she would be the key to awakening Schneider's power. Yuko had no other solution but to execute the spell. At that moment, a dark energy erupted from Lucien's body, enveloping the area. His body swelled until he transformed into Schneider. "Brother, finally, I am free. I will return and take over the world." Zeus was almost driven insane. The entire army attacked, but with one spell, he liquefied their bodies. He said, "I have all of Lucien's memories." Zeus said to him, "You're finished." 12 years ago, Kyra army attacked again. He gave them one strike that turned them into a pool of blood. Everyone was terrified by what had happened. What will he do to us? After finishing off the monsters, it was Zeus's turn. He used his strongest spell, a spell that literally turned Schneider into a roasted chicken. Zeus said, "This is the fate of anyone who stands against me. You will all die before my power." He launched an attack, but suddenly Schneider grabbed him. "Powerful magic, but I can release you the strongest." He gave him a fire spell that turned his body to ash. Schneider finished off the Dark Army, and in a second he disappeared. Yuko walked after him and said, "Wait, where are you going?" He said, "I am Schneider, and my goal is to conquer the world. But first, I will look for your father and kill him. I will take revenge on him for sealing my power. Don't be afraid, I've decided to let you live. In reality, I admire you. Lucien's memories won't allow me to harm you." He kissed her and suddenly a white aura emanated from him. His body shrank more and more and he returned to Lucien's form, forgetting everything that happened to the point where he asked, "Where is the Dark Army?" Yuko said, "It's better this way." She realized how to defeat Schneider and took him back to the palace. She presented a report to the king about what happened. Not just her father, Priest Gio, also told the king what happened, explaining how he sealed Schneider's power inside the child, Lucien. The foolish king said, "I want to meet him," she told him. "Please don't." He said, "No, I must meet him." Yuko executed the spell. A dark beam shot out, and Schneider appeared. He saw Priest Gio and said, "Do you really think the first thing I decided to do upon returning was to kill you?" He prepared a lightning spell, but Yuko stood in front of him saying, "This is my father, and I will never allow you to harm him." He said, "Who are you anyway?" She said, "I'm the one who brought you back. I'm the one who lived with you for the last 15 years. Suddenly, Lucien took control for a moment and said to Schneider, "I won't let you hurt them." The two are linked in the same body, so Schneider couldn't do what he wanted, and he returned to the child's form again. Although what happened frightened everyone with Schneider's power, he was currently the only one who could help us defeat the Dark Army. Of course, after what they saw in the last war, they agreed to the priest's plan, but in the middle of the night, a mysterious figure appeared and killed the guards in a second. He reached Yuko's room and said, "I've come because I want something from you." She thought he wanted something indecent, so she hit him below the belt. He said, "Not what you're thinking. Let me introduce myself. My name is Jara, one of the 4 leaders that Schneider founded the army with." He pinned her to the wall and said, I want to ask you about Schneider. Do you know where he is? She said, I don't know. While Lucien was sleeping, Jara said, I'm sure Schneider has returned, and since you are Priest Gio's daughter, you must know where he is. Lucien woke up to their voices and found Yuko pinned to the wall. Jara said, will you answer or should I use my force? Suddenly, a dark aura exploded in the place. Lucien said to Jara, if you touch her, I will destroy your body. He spoke with Schneider's voice even though he hadn't transformed. Jara was afraid of his voice, but Lucien regained control for a few seconds. Seconds that were enough for Jara to summon his personal dragon. He destroyed the room and took Yuko, escaping from the place. As he fled, he said to Schneider, if you want her back, come find me at my castle. Priest Gio informed the king of what happened and that Jara now knew Schneider's secret and could attack at any moment. The priestess suggested forming a rescue team, but Gio told them it was a bad idea. The only one who can activate Schneider's power is Yuko. More importantly, we don't know the location of Jara's castle. The only one who knows its location is Schneider. So, to solve the problem, we need to find a virgin like Yuko. Princess Sheila said, I can help. I've learned magic, so I can use the incantation, and I am also a virgin. The king said, no, the royal family is forbidden from mingling with commoners. She said, but this is a problem threatening the kingdom. If we don't stop Jara, he might kill us. Plus, I want to save Yuko because she is my friend, Priest Gio told the guards. The king's health might be affected. He needs rest on the northern coast. The guards took him out of the room. The priest thanked Sheila for her help. Sheila indeed called Lucien, who approached her. She began the incantation, which ended with a kiss. At that moment, he transformed into Schneider. The priest told him what happened. He said, I know and remember. I warned Jara not to get near her. He went with Sheila and the rest of the army on the mission to rescue Yuko, who was in Jara's castle. Schneider said to Sheila, are you sure you're coming with us? You're supposed to be the princess. She said, I don't trust you, so I have to watch you. They reached the castle gate and wondered how to enter. Sheila said, can you break the gate? The soldiers said, this isn't a war, we're on a rescue mission. But Schneider said, as you command, and struck the gate, blowing it up. The explosion killed the guards. How were there only 3 guarding the gate? Suddenly, monsters broke through the walls and surrounded them. It seems we've fallen into a trap. Schneider told the soldiers, hold them off and I will look for Yuko. In reality, this meant the soldier's death. He reached the upper floor with Sheila. Sheila found a red sword. How could they leave a sword in the middle of the castle? Suddenly, the sword glowed and tried to attack her. Schneider pushed her away from the sword, but he was wounded by it. He told her, this is a magical sword. It chooses its wielder. The problem was the sword was coated in poison. The poison entered Schneider's body. He told her suck the blood from the wound before I die. But suddenly the sword activated again, and a demon named Afrit appeared from it. Entering this place is forbidden, and the punishment for violators is death. He surrounded the area with fire, but Schneider blocked the attack with his own fire. Despite the injury and poison in his body, he was still so strong that his fire could repel Afrit's fire. He told Sheila, step back. I will use 10% of my power. Afrit unleashed his fire power and tried to burn him with fire at 2000 degrees Celsius. But Schneider said, what is this coldness? Are we in winter or what? He surrounded himself with fire and struck him with a blow that took Afrit and broke through the door of the room where Jara was. Afrit lost to Schneider's power and returned to the sword. Jara's army, composed of ninjas, were astonished at how Afrit surrendered before the opponent's power. Even Jara couldn't compete with him. From now on, Schneider is the master of the sword. The problem is that Schneider is essentially a sorcerer, not proficient in combat arts or sword skills. Yura appeared before him with Yuko. He said, I haven't seen you in 15 years. If you want Yuko, you can take her. But I want to face you. I want to face the person who controlled the dark armies. He said this because he knew Schneider's condition and that the poison was running through his body. But Schneider never withdraws from a battle, so of course he agreed. Jara directed dozens of attacks at him. His sword was controlled by electricity. The ninja soldiers cheered him on. Jara fought with the sword, and Schneider barely managed to parry with Afrit's sword because Jara's main skill was sword control, so the battle was in his favor. Sheila reached Yuko, and at that moment learned that she was the one who activated Schneider's power. Schneider tried to reduce the power gap by using a fire spell, but Jara closed the distance between them and with a strike, he blew off Schneider's arm. The arm that flew off didn't stop the spell, which melted Jara's arm. Each lost an arm, yet they continued the battle. Schneider began to execute his strongest spell with one hand, and Jara executed his strongest attack. The two collided, and Schneider's spell won. Its power surpassed Jara's supersonic strike. From the force of the blow, the castle began to break, but Schneider continued the battle, and his spell broke everything around him. At the same time, he was protecting Yuko and Sheila. The castle collapsed, and Schneider and Jara were trapped under the rocks. They waited for their powers to heal slowly. Jara said, "This is the first time I know you have such a powerful spell." He said, A skilled sorcerer must hide his strongest spells for the end of the battle. The two spoke as if they hadn't been fighting seconds ago. Jaro remembered Lara, the small dragon he was raising. He quickly went out to look for her and found her with Sheila. Sheila said, "A barrier protected me, Yuko, and also Lara. The barrier was created by Schneider." Jaro learned that Schneider was the one who protected Lara, but he was surprised. The Schneider he knew didn't care about anyone. The most important thing for him was achieving his goal. It was clear that his upbringing by the priest and his integration with a human body changed his thinking. So he thanked Schneider for helping Lara. Schneider went to Yuko and said, "I told you as long as you were with me, you will remain under my protection." At that time, Abigail was observing the battle. He confirmed that Ziara, after what happened, would join Schneider. So he sent Nai to attack the kingdom of Metallica. Nai is the half-elf and one of the 4 leaders. Jaro told Schneider that the Dark Army was heading for the kingdom, so everyone quickly went to protect it. In the middle of the night, the army reached the kingdom. The situation was a bit different because the ninjas were in the defense ranks, the ninjas under Jara's command. Jara was facing Nai as she attacked. The two fought each other with swords. Both were strong in using the sword. She said to Jara, "He said Schneider's plan is more fun. In reality, I've always seen Abigail as a rotten person, and I wanted to leave him at the first opportunity." She said, "Do you know what the punishment for a traitor is?" and struck him, severing his shoulder. The injury healed in seconds, and his arm returned to its place. He used a spell and created dozens of illusory clones that appeared and disappeared to mislead the opponent. So she used a wide area spell and destroyed them. She gave him dozens of magical strikes, which he easily blocked. So she struck him with a lightning blow that pierced his sword and cut his back. Jara fell to the ground injured. What is the secret behind that lightning sword? She went to kill him, but she took a hit from a throwing knife. At that moment, Schneider arrived. In the past, Schneider found an orphaned girl named Nai. The war killed her father and mother, so he decided to adopt her. He taught her all the combat arts and she lived with him until they were practically engaged. But all that changed the day Schneider decided to leave the Dark Army. Nai remembered all these memories during the battle. Schneider appeared behind her and hugged her. She tried to break free, so he said, "Did you really come to kill me?" She said, "Yes, and I will make sure you don't come back to life again." He said, "I know what you're saying is a lie to hide the truth. The truth is that you love me, just as I love you. I loved you throughout the 100 years we were together." Nai was affected by his words, but she saw her gauntlet and remembered. Abigail anticipated that love would affect Nai's decisions and that she might betray him. So he planted a spell in her, a severe explosion spell that activates in case of defeat by Schneider, or if she decides to betray Abigail and join him. At that time, the gauntlet would turn from purple to red, and the bomb would explode, destroying everything around her. Nai saw her gauntlet changing color, so she said to Schneider, "Stay away from me. I will return and kill you. I will return with the army to destroy the kingdom of Metallica and kill you in a way you can't come back from." Schneider didn't understand what changed her so quickly. He returned to the palace but found Yuko pouting in his face. "What's wrong, my girl? Why are you upset?" she said. "It's nothing. You should figure it out yourself." She seemed jealous of what happened. At night, Schneider sensed magical energy approaching. It was because Nai had returned and used her strongest spell, destroying part of the castle with it. Schneider managed to dodge the attack. Lara said, "How is she able to use such powerful magic?" Schneider said, "Nai is known for her mastery of lightning." He said to Nai, "Come, let's settle things between us." Everyone was against his decision, knowing that such a battle would result in the death of one of them. If Schneider won, he would remain sad for the rest of his life because he would have killed the girl he raised and loved. But Schneider insisted on his decision. Nai rode her animal. Schneider used flight magic, a legendary magic that enables flight. She attacked him with a wave of lightning, saying to Schneider, "Be careful, there are many things you don't know about my power." She defended, and the flight spell canceled the ideal spell against sorcerers. How will he fight without magic? She struck him, sticking him to the wall, and gathered her power for a sword strike. But above her, a fireball appeared because Ifrit had arrived to help his master. He said to Schneider, "I'm at your command. Use me to destroy your enemies." He didn't like using swords, but there was no other choice. I didn't waste time and attacked, but Schneider struck, turning her animal into a piece of charcoal. No aerial battles. Come down to the ground and fight me with your sword. Inside her sword was the spirit of lightning, similar to Ifrit but using lightning. This was the reason her sword pierced Jara's sword. The spirit of lightning had many hidden abilities. The two gathered their power in their swords, fire against lightning. Who would win? Everyone watched. Nai began and directed a lightning strike. Schneider tried to block it. The strike was terrifyingly strong. So Ifrit said, "My mission is to protect you." He came out of the sword and fought the spirit of lightning sword, pulling it out of the sword. He said to Schneider, "Goodbye, Ifrit." Ifrit sacrificed himself and exploded within the spirit of lightning. Schneider was affected by the loss of Ifrit, so Nai took advantage of the opportunity and plunged her hand into Schneider's skull, saying, As I promised you, today will be your end. But suddenly the energy returned to Schneider. The spirit of lightning sword was destroyed, so its power returned to Schneider. Schneider got up so the battle between the two could continue. His sword fight was over, and now it was time for the magical battle. Their powers collided, and the buildings around them broke. Schneider said, "Nai used the same spell," and the two collided, creating a giant explosion. An explosion that opened a hole in the sky. Even that attack couldn't finish the battle. Schneider said, "Why do you want to continue? This is the appropriate time we can stop the battle." She said, "Nothing will stop it." Nai summoned spirits of lightning, and Schneider responded with fire spirits. The spirits collided and destroyed each other. Fire games were spread throughout the place. He said, "So what is your goal? What will you do after you defeat?" She said, "My goal is to create a righteous society. A magical society free from racism, poverty, and war." Schneider said, "Those are just dreams. War and racism are part of human nature, and it's impossible for them to disappear from humans." She said, "Of course someone like you would say that. You don't know what I've been through." Nai, the half-elf, suffered from racism all her life, accepted by neither humans nor full elves. The matter worsened when the war began between humans and elves. Both considered her a spy and expelled her from the place. That's why she hated war and racism. And when Schneider found her and raised her, happiness began to return to her. But the war took him away from her, which increased her desire to end war forever, especially since she met other half-elves who were also exposed to the same racism. She attacked with a lightning spell, but Schneider caught it. He said, "I remember every moment we spent together. From the time I met you as a child, I remember when we were planning our wedding." The girl finally weakened before him, and her gauntlet changed color. She moved away from him and said, "I won't allow this to happen," and summoned hundreds of spirits. Schneider didn't understand why she was doing this. All he did was block the attacks, so she struck him with a blow that knocked him to the ground, finishing off the remainder of his strength. She surrounded him with lightning and struck him. She had the power to win the battle and saw him bleeding before her, but she couldn't continue what she was doing. She remembered herself as a child and lost control. The spirit she was controlling went out of control to the point that they attacked her. She said, "It's no use. It's better to surrender." But if she surrendered, the bomb would explode. So she said to Schneider, "What? Has your power run out? What if I kill Yuko? I might even kill the princess." She tried to anger Schneider so he would get up and kill her, because if she surrendered, the bomb would explode. "Indeed," he said, "if you get near Yuko, I will destroy you." She smiled and grabbed her gauntlet. Her plan succeeded, but she heard Abigail saying, "I understand what you want to do. It's better for you to finish the battle. The only way to remove the bomb from your body is by removing Schneider's heart from his body." The two gathered their magical energy. Priest Gio and the seer arrived. The seer told Gio, "I had a vision of Schneider with his chest torn apart. I believe fate has been decided." And that was the moment they attacked each other with their strongest spells. Schneider's spell was slightly stronger than Nai's, which essentially meant Schneider's victory. Schneider heard a voice in his head saying, "Save Nai." He focused on her body and the place where blood was coming from. Schneider found blood coming from Nai's gauntlet. There must be something inside her body. Abigail is definitely behind all this. Immediately, he used a rare spell, a spell that transfers all existing energy to another place. It protected her from the explosion, and he quickly went to Nai. He said, "I will free you from the curse upon you and wash the heart." Blood fell on her gauntlet, and the spell unraveled from the force of the incantation. Everyone present saw it as it came out of Nai's body. The seer said, "As I said, fate has been decided and cannot be changed." Schneider tore out his heart and fell as a lifeless corpse into Yuko's arms. Yuko was in disbelief at what she saw. She remembered her memories with Schneider and her memories with Lucien, and from the shock, she lost consciousness. Nai remained next to Schneider for 3 days without moving. She didn't move until she collapsed from exhaustion. Abigail said to Cole, "This is our chance, the only chance to invade the kingdom of Metallic Arcana." Yuko went to Schneider's body. There was no movement. "It seems he won't come back." She kissed him to activate the spell, but it was no use. Schneider is dead. It's over. That night, the dragon Lara went to Schneider. Someone had apparently placed food for him on the windowsill. Suddenly, he saw light emanating from Schneider's body. Schneider transformed into Lucien, but then returned to Schneider. Lara was shocked. What is happening? Abigail, at that time, was working on a resurrection ritual, trying to revive the King of Destruction. In reality, the resurrection ritual of the King of Destruction is what brought Schneider back to life 400 years ago. As we said, the world was destroyed, and this was actually due to the appearance of the ruler of destruction. Humans tried to stop him, but he destroyed all manifestations of civilization on planet Earth. All human technology couldn't stop him. And from the sky, a white light appeared, and a dragon emerged from it. The dragon fought the ruler of destruction in a battle that shook the planet Earth and killed millions of humans, but in the end, he managed to win. An old story, and humans forgot its true details. The true details about the ruler of destruction and the dragon. Yuko and the other priests arrived at Schneider's body and saw a very strange scene before them. Blood was coming out of his body and gathering to form a new heart, but an evil aura was emanating from the body. Priest Gio said, "This must be the aura of the ruler of destruction." I heard that Schneider's existence is linked to the existence of the ruler of destruction. Schneider's chest opened and the heart returned to its place. Yuko jumped on him and kept hitting him. "Wake up, man, wake up. We need you." He heard her words and woke up, blowing up the building. Priest Gio was terrified by what he saw, especially since the energy coming out of Schneider had become much stronger than before. Every time Schneider dies, he returns with a much higher power. He rested for 2 days, but Jara entered with Nai. He said, "Look outside." The palace saw dark clouds covering the vision, and from within them, a demon in the form of a skeleton appeared. He used forbidden spells, destroying dozens of soldiers, and after that, he attacked the kingdom's citizens, absorbing them into his body. People in the street were dying. The only ones safe so far were those in the palace. Gio said, "What I'm seeing reminds me of the Purple Castle. The 4 royal families originally came from one place, the city of the Purple Castle. A very rich city with minerals, rivers, and agricultural land. But one day, the city turned into ruins. The survivors from it spoke of a skeleton controlling the black clouds, absorbing the population, and destroying houses and buildings. Essentially, priests can use powerful spells, but some of them deviate from the right path. They use forbidden spells to gain great power, and surely the skeleton is one of the ancient priests who used a spell from black magic and turned into his current form. But what distinguished them was that they didn't harm humans. So what happened and changed them? Someone used dark magic without their permission, and moreover his form didn't change, and that person is Schneider. His use of the spells made the skeleton angry and decided to take revenge. Schneider, Jara, and Nai prepared themselves for the confrontation. They surrounded the city with a ring of fire to protect it, and I told him, "Be careful. I heard the skeleton takes orders from Abigail, so he is likely the one who planned all this." Schneider said, "Then it's easy. Don't be afraid. I can use the forbidden spells. My skill increased after I used them 50 years ago." The skeleton opened a path through the middle of the fire as if it were water. He executed a spell to control the souls of the humans he had absorbed and used them in the attack. So Schneider struck with a fire blow, destroying them with his hands. He struck a second blow, but the skeleton's barrier stopped them. "My barrier, no spell can penetrate it, especially since I have the demon ring, a legendary ring any sorcerer wishes to touch. It gives its owner tremendous magical energy." He began a spell that formed a black hole that sucked in everything around it. It even sucked the magic from the air. Schneider was pulled in. Jara and Nai tried to save him. He told them, "Stay away instead of getting sucked in too." Nai didn't listen to him and jumped against the gravity with her sword, which she stuck into the ground. From the force of the black hole, the sword began to break. The skeleton said to Schneider, "I have a solution. Use the girl in front of you to escape. Sacrifice her, and then you might live." Schneider said, "I would never betray my followers." He left her to save her, but the sword broke, and she was also pulled in. Jara quickly tried to catch her, but it was too late. Both were sucked into the hole, which closed. Only Jara remained against the skeleton. Jara became angry and covered his sword with electricity. He attacked him with dozens of strikes, and the skeleton couldn't keep up with his speed and was toying with him. But the strikes drained all his strength, and he nearly lost consciousness. His ninjas arrived to provide him with treatment, but the skeleton returned again. The demonic ring brought him back to life and healed all his wounds. The ninjas told him, "We won't leave our commander. We won't let you touch him except over our dead bodies." He said a weak enough spell to finish you off. But suddenly the spirit of lightning jumped on him with electricity, and Ifrit appeared and opened the hole to let Schneider out with Nai. When Schneider entered the hole, he found the magic that the hole had absorbed, so he used it to bring back Ifrit and the spirit of lightning. Together their power was enough to open the hole. The skeleton said, "Even if you kill me, I will return again. I have come back to life more than 100 times." Schneider said, "There is only one who returns to life, and that is me." He turned Ifrit into a sword and struck him with a blow that split him in half, and each half burned in the fire until it turned to ash strangely. Upon his defeat, the ring moved by itself and returned to Abigail. Abigail said, "None of my soldiers can handle him. The only solution is for me to go myself." He prepared everything for one mission, the necklace that Princess Sheila was wearing, and since Nai was one of his soldiers, she knew what his goal was. She went to the palace to stop him and used her sword, striking him with a throwing knife. He said, "I prepared myself to compete with those stronger than you. Someone like you can't stand before me." He used the power of the ring and other legendary tools. He summoned 2 demons, one for complete defense and one for complete attack. He made them merge with each other, and he himself merged with them. The final form was Messenger, and I quickly fled and returned to the kingdom. She said to Abigail, "Nothing can stand before the power of my sword." She struck him with a blow, summoning a giant lightning bolt that paralyzed his movement. But Abigail said, "A nice strike. Let me try my new power." And with one strike, he stuck Nye to the wall. One strike was enough to defeat him. He was about to finish her off, but he sensed Schneider approaching. The wall next to him broke, and he emerged from it with a golem. The golem was summoned to fight Abigail. "You will summon a demon, and I will summon a golem for you." The golem said to Abigail, "Let me go." She said, "Be careful, Abigail is immune to magical attacks." So Abigail struck her. Abigail said, "I never expected that the leader of the Dark Army would turn into the form in front of me. You turned into a mere working dog for humans and defend them. You are a disgrace to the Dark Army, and I must destroy you." Schneider became angry and struck him, throwing him to the ground. He attacked again, so Abigail enlarged himself and struck with a magical blow that destroyed the golem. Schneider not only destroyed the golem, he destroyed the land behind him. Everyone was astonished by the destructive power Abigail possessed. Schneider said, "This is the first time I've seen a spell with this power. This must be one of the spells of the lost civilization." Abigail came from behind Schneider and said, "This is the true power of the demonic tools made by priests and alchemists in the ancient civilization. You're just encouraging me to defeat you." Abigail stepped on him and broke the ground with him. Everyone thought Schneider had lost, but he got up and lifted him from the ground. He threw him at the castle, and after that, he used the flight spell. Abigail said, "It seems you forgot that magic doesn't work against me." Schneider said, "The magic of other people is different from mine. I haven't lost a single battle in the past 400 years, and I have a plan not to lose in the next 400 years. Schneider began a spell and covered Abigail with a black circle, a spell from the ancient civilization. He added a second spell that covered the circle with demonic creatures that attacked Abigail, hungry demons that eat any living being in front of them. Schneider thought the battle was over, but suddenly the circle was breached and then destroyed. Abigail came out and struck him with 2 blows that cut off Schneider's arm and leg. A legendary strike knocked Schneider to the ground. Suddenly, clouds covered the area, and Sheila felt pain in her chest. Lightning struck the king. All this was evidence of the approaching awakening of the King of Destruction. Schneider tried to regain his arm, and Abigail asked him how he was able to use a spell like that. "Because how did you even summon the demons?" Schneider said. "That's a secret. Someone like you couldn't use the powerful spells." So Abigail struck him with a throwing knife, striking him until Schneider lost consciousness. Suddenly, everyone felt the energy of the King of Destruction, including the unconscious Schneider. So Abigail said, "I must act quickly." He climbed the tower to reach Princess Sheila. The necklace around her neck was the final key to awakening the ruler of destruction. Priest Gio was the one who gave the necklace to the princess. He tried to hide it and found that the safest place would be with the princess and the royal guard. The princess felt pain in her chest, and a shock woke Schneider up. He got up, his body severed, and saw Abigail hanging like a chimpanzee. So he gathered his power in the form of fire. Abigail said, "What are you doing? This spell will destroy the castle and everyone in it." Schneider acted as if he didn't hear anything, and the spell was launched, blowing up half the castle. He was bleeding as he used it, but he continued. The surprise was that the spell had no effect on Abigail. The armor on him literally protected him from all magical spells. Suddenly, Nye appeared above him. She said to Schneider, "You were the one who taught me to use magic." And she used the same spell he was using. The 2 spells hurt Abigail. The merger of their power made it multiply. Finally, they broke the barrier. But the rest of the body was still intact. And Schneider, after laughing with all his might to execute the spell, fell to the ground in a pool of blood. No one could stand before Abigail now. He went to Schneider and said, "I can offer you as a sacrifice to the King of Destruction." Schneider said, "You don't know the past." Nye and Jar decided to intervene, but Yuko stopped them, saying, "Schneider will be able to defeat him." Abigail opened all his weapons and said to Schneider, "What do you think if I kill your friends first?" Schneider got up again with one leg and one arm, and this time he attacked by himself. The firepower gave him energy. Push magic alone wasn't enough. Merging magic with physical strength and focusing on one area, he managed to break the barrier and pierce Abigail's body. Finally, he managed to take him down, but his own body had also disappeared. I hugged Schneider, or what remained of Schneider, and everyone cried except Yuko, who saw that Schneider was still alive. But the bigger shock was that Abigail was still alive. With one move, he took Yuko hostage. Schneider tried to get up, but he had no leg to stand on, and Abigail immediately gave him a shot that sent him back to the ground again, in a spellbound Jara and Nye. Abigail prepared a second strike for Schneider, who at that time was dreaming. He saw Lucien saying, "This is not the time to die. You have a mission. Protect Metallica Kana. Stop the awakening of the King of Destruction, and most importantly, your friends are dying now. At that moment, a bright light emanated from Schneider's body. He woke up, but still with half his body. Abigail said, "What will you do against me with that body?" So Schneider covered his body with fire, replacing the severed parts of his body with fire. Abigail said, "How is it that you keep coming back? This must be related to the ruler of destruction. Somehow the two are linked to each other, and whenever Schneider loses his power or even dies, the King of Destruction is given new power and brings him back to life. This means that if the King of Destruction is freed and comes back to life, Schneider will gain legendary power from 15 years ago." Abigail saw Schneider fighting the Knights of the Kingdom. One of them was named Jia. Yes, the priest Jia Schneider was in front of the Knight's power. He performed a resurrection spell to bring him back after he died. But Jia interrupted him and made the spell be implanted in a young child. Abigail saw everything that happened. Schneider is done. After being in a human body, someone like him is not fit to lead the Dark Army. I am the one who can lead. He continued to increase his power to the point that he surpassed Schneider's power. When Schneider returns, he strikes Abigail and tells him, "Prepare yourself. I will show you hell on earth." Abigail Beast calls Golem and attacks Schneider, but he blocks the blow, stuns a goblin, and the one who he attacks the Golem from behind and uses a fire spell from the front of the attack. Tin is not enough to destroy them. Abigail also summons skeletons to provide the Golem with strength. Schneider repeats the same move. He orders himself to destroy the Golem and summons fire spirits and hunts the skeletons one after the other. He says to Abigail, "The battle is between you and me." He attacks him with a right and a left strike. Abigail endures because he is gathering strength in the demonic ring, waiting for the right moment to use its power. But Schneider, with a surprise move, crucifies him with a goblin sword, and the sword pierces the heart and destroys it. Finally, Abigail is destroyed and Schneider's fire disappears from him, and he returns to the middle of his body. Yoko goes to help him, so he says to her, "I want to tell you one last thing. Shane and I want to tell you that we love you." Everyone thought he was dead, but he was laughing at them. But Abigail comes back again, my son. "Don't die," he says to Schneider. "Your strength is gone. That's why you couldn't kill me. This battle is longer than Luffy's battle against Big Mom." He uses the demon ring to summon a black hole. But Yoko notices that the rock he's standing on is unstable. She runs at top speed and dodges his blows to stand on the rock. The rock couldn't withstand the two of them and fall. Abigail, praise be to God, punches the stakes and makes them look like a kebab. At that moment, demonic bodies come out of him. Bodies that make the sky dark and explode, along with the castle and everyone in it. At the time, they were sitting next to Schneider's remains. Schneider's soul is separated from Lucia's body, and the explosion is getting bigger and bigger, to the point that citizens thousands of kilometers away can see it, and the news spread everywhere. Metallica's castle has fallen at the hands of the Dark Army. After what happened, no one is safe. One of the human kingdoms, the guards enter the leader and say, "There is someone waiting for you outside." He goes out and finds a shock. Yuko is holding lotion and is bleeding. She says to them, "Please save him by any means." That's all we have to say. If you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if this is your first time. See you in a new video.